Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Hayley.
After meeting online, we became international best friends who bonded over how hard it is to find success in the entertainment industry.
Join us and our celebrity co-authors as they help us write the book on how to make it.
And, more importantly, uncover what making it even means.
Hi, my name is Sydney Cole Alexander, and I wanted to be a singer and an actor when I grew up.
Oh, she made it happen.
Yay.
Any particular genre of music?
R&B. I like R&B a lot.
Any major influences as a child that were...
As a child, maybe Destiny's Child. And then I think as I got older, Erykah Badu.
Nice. Okay. I didn't know if you were going to be a musical theatre kid.
Strangely enough, it never really interested me.
How interesting. Because you would have thought that would be like the pathway.
Right, the natural progression.
Yeah.
Huh.
You're hitting it different.
Yeah, singing and acting, don't ask me to do them at the same time. Separately. Yes, separately only.
What was your path into the acting then, Sydney? Did you take a quite traditional path into it?
I did. So I always knew that I wanted to be a performer. There's like a story of me being 4 years old and seeing like a Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers film playing on TV and dropping my toys and like staring at the TV and turning, being like, that's what I want to do. So I don't remember choosing it from my earliest memory. I just remember wanting to do this. So I pretty much just joined any and every extracurricular activity that I could possibly do, from dance to chorus to a show choir to the school plays. And then I'm from Chicago. I lived in Jersey for a year, actually. Then I lived on Long Island for a while. And then I moved to New York City when I was 13 years old. And I immediately went and auditioned for performing arts middle school. So I went to this school called PPAS, the Professional Performing Arts School, in the 8th grade, but it was way too small and there was too much drama for me. I couldn't deal. And in New York City, the high school process is like a mini college process. Like, you have to audition for the schools, you have to write letters. It's crazy. Otherwise, you either have to go to your own school or try to get into a private school, and they're so expensive. So I needed to go the public school route. So I auditioned for every performing arts school under the sun, and I ended up getting in. PPAS has a high school as well attached to it, and I got in for vocal, but I didn't want to go there. Then I got into LaGuardia for acting. I didn't get into LaGuardia for vocal. I sang Ain't No Sunshine by Bill Withers for an opera program. I should have known. Yeah. That was not going to work. And I got into acting.
It was a brave choice, Sydney.
I know. It was bold. It was bold. So I decided to go to LaGuardia because it was just obviously a fantastic school. And I really wanted to be in a larger school. And I'm so glad that I did. And I ended up falling in love with acting because I just thought it was so complicated and so hard. And I didn't feel like I was necessarily great at it. And I loved the challenge. And so I studied there for 4 years. We had 4 hours of class, acting class every single day. And then as we got older, we did plays like in senior year. And then I went to SUNY Purchase and got my BFA at the conservatory there.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of training.
Good, but you can tell.
Hours. Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, I want to be like, you can tell, but then I'm like, do people think that's not a good thing because I mean it as a really good thing?
I don't know. I think it's a good thing. I didn't take it negatively.
Okay, I think it's the only way you can get like really nuanced performance. I think it's a craft.
It's really wonderful. I love being trained. I will say that I think it does kind of start you out later. Because I was auditioning when I got out of high school, but I was in a conservatory. And at the time, you really weren't allowed to audition or take jobs. So I feel like I kind of stepped out into the world at 23. And they say it takes 10 years to start getting some traction. And that has absolutely been my experience. So I think it has its ups and downs. But I do think at the very least, taking classes and studying is really important.
Yeah, mine must be on a time delay because I'm going on 11 years.
Listen, I feel you. I really do.
10 business years.
10 business years.
It's 10 minimum. 10 minimum.
Okay, great. Great. So now we move into a section where we tell you 2 interesting facts that we found out about you on the internet.
Okay.
So far
Don't
we
be
haven't
scared,
ruined
it's
anyone's
fine.
lives with them.
Thank goodness.
So mine is that you and we were both at the premiere of Shallowtail. I want to hear about what it was like shooting that movie. I loved the movie. Like, I left the movie and I told everyone about it, and I was like, it's one of my favorite things now. And I was writing so furiously when I was watching it because I was doing a review that I lost 2 pens. They like flew out of my hands like both times, and then I was penless. But I'd
You're
love
so
to.
dramatic, Emily. It just disintegrated in my hand.
No, it flew out, and then someone came and was like, "Do you need another pen?" And I was like, "Thank you so much." And then like 3 more sentences. Anyway, so I'd love to hear about what that was like filming, because both you and Britt Lauer are in that as well.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you approach a scene with someone that you're in such different scenes within a different project?
So, Britt didn't even know I was in the film, which is funny because I was like, maybe she put in a word for me, But I think it just like happened, and I'm realizing that the industry gets smaller and smaller and smaller the longer you're in it. But so I booked the film, and I was in Florida at the time with my friends, and I was so excited, and I was really pumped to work with Britt again. She and I are friends now, and she's just such a lovely person and an actor that I respect so much. So I was excited to film with her again. But I think also because we had gotten to know each other offset a little bit, it was a little bit easier to play friends.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really sure because the film, it has such a specific tone. Yeah. And when I was in the premiere, it was my first time going to a premiere. So it was my first time like sitting in a theater and like seeing a big screen of work I had done.
Wow.
And it was so much funnier than I thought. I knew it was funny, because the actors are funny and it's clear, but it was way funnier than I thought. So it was pretty interesting to think about it one way and then to actually see it, and for it to be so different than I had anticipated, because I believe I only shot over 2 days for that film. So I didn't really get a full sense of the tone until I saw it. And working with Britt was wonderful as per usual. She's just so focused and so lovely and so humble. And it was really cool to play 2 completely different characters than our Lumen Severance characters. So it was a wonderful experience.
Yeah, the scene where you guys are, I think it's in a cafe or a restaurant of some sort chatting. The whole time I was like, I'm like, someone's gonna get hurt or attacked or something. Like, it was very strange to see you guys be so naturally friendly. And then I did think, I wonder if they were great friends before, or they worked, like they knew they were both going to be on this project, because it seemed so natural as compared to what I had seen you both in before. So that's really interesting to hear.
And it's so different. Even like Zoe's hair and her makeup. She's so much more
I love the hair.
Natalie's so stiff, and like every curl on her head is literally every curl is curled manually. So it was different to have my hair like picked out and wild, and it was really cool to be able to work with her on such a different project.
That's cool. It's interesting what you said about the tone of it, because I find that with like a lot of stuff I work on, I have no idea what it's going to feel like tonally until I watch it at all. Like when you're working on Severance, do you like, obviously you've got an idea of tone now, but did you have any idea of the tone of that to start with?
Strangely enough, sometimes I read a script, and I've read hundreds and hundreds of scripts, and sometimes I read a script and the tone isn't very clear to me, or it takes me a while to understand it, or I have to work through it with friends to find the tone. But Severance was a script that just immediately made sense to me. And I remember when I read the script, I had the same feeling that I had when I read Handmaid's Tale, where I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And I remember talking to my therapist about it when I booked it. He's like, don't get your hopes up, though. Manage your expectations. I was like, no, this is going to be great. Okay, I know it. And so I think I really understood it. I had worked a corporate job, And I felt like I really understood Natalie because of those experiences. And as far as just the way that the group functions, the way that Lumen functions as a almost like a corporate cult, I felt like I really understood that. And I also understood this like ecstatic union and merging that these people have in common, especially the higher ups at Lumen, not necessarily the innies who have that in their own way. So the tone was pretty clear to me, but I will say it far exceeded my expectations when I saw it for the first time. I remember I was doing a play in Colorado, and we opened the show the day that Severance premiered. Which was such a lovely feeling to like open a show and then run home and watch the premiere, and my like jaw hit the floor. I just was amazed by the cinematography, and it just really was everything I had hoped for and 500 times more.
Amazing, incredible. My question is completely away from any of this.
Okay.
You were in a Capital One ad with Taylor Swift.
Yes.
Random. How did this come about?
So commercials, I got a commercial rep pretty soon out of school. I have an amazing management team, MJ Management, Myrna Jacoby, Patrick Keane, TC Lynn. They're incredible. I'm so lucky. And so they set me up with some agents to meet with right after I graduated. We kind of just tried auditioning first a little bit, then set up with agency meetings. So I got a commercial agent, worked with them for a while, switched commercial agencies. And I don't know, I auditioned for this commercial, and I felt so lucky because when it comes to commercials, if you're not like really clearly in the shot, you don't get the residuals. So at the time, Taylor had asked for me to like switch seats, and I was like, yes, because I was in the shot, and that money got me through the pandemic.
Yes!
Thank you, Taylor Swift, for saving my
Taylor.
life.
Wow. I'm going to write that down for later.
Yeah, be in the shot. Making sure you're in the shot.
There's so much filming in New Jersey right now, like so much, and Netflix is coming, and Lionsgate is coming, and you're going to just start seeing me like in the back.
Exactly.
Of the window, the restaurant scene. I'm gonna be like,
ka-ching, 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 ka-ching.
My phone number, like on a.
Good idea.
That's so interesting. When I saw you had been in a Crest commercial.
Yes.
Is that I was like, that makes sense, because I like when I'm watching Severance, I'm like looking at your teeth.
Well, that Crest commercial. So Natalie's smile was inspired by the Crest commercial. Yeah.
Whoa.
No way.
My first day on set was that little news scene in season 1 where Adam Scott Mark is watching Natalie having a debate on the news, and so that was a quick day. My first like true like meaty day on set was the first board scene with Patricia Arquette, and I entered onto set. I'm ready to go, and the first thing that Ben says to me is, "Hi, Crest girl." And I was like, hi. And then I'm like, oh my God, like this is so strange.
Sydney, there's worse things you could be known as.
I know. I was like, I can't believe he saw my Crest commercial, but he loves the Knicks and sports, so he probably has seen a lot of commercials. And so when we were filming it a couple of times, I was smiling because I had done that in my audition. I had been smiling, and he was like, I really want to see the Crest smile. Like, give me your Crest smile, like bigger, bigger, bigger. And so it kind of just inspired the Natalie smile. So I'm so thankful for that commercial, because somehow it influenced Severance, which I just think is so funny.
How
they're very different things, you know?
Does anyone in your family work in dentistry? I feel like everyone I know who has really great teeth, they're like, my dad's a dentist. I'm like, oh, well, okay.
I had braces for a while. I used to have a gap here. I wish I would have kept it, because I think those gaps are so cute. I loved to suck Jello out of it as a kid. It was awesome. I would like make sounds with it. But I had braces for quite a long time.
Natalie would never have a gap in her.
No, she wouldn't.
No, she wouldn't. That's true. But yeah, character smiles.
Yeah. I mean, it actually leads me perfectly into my question. And I'm gonna give background on this for a second. So I am a massive fan of Severance, mostly because, well, not mostly, for a lot of reasons, but I have had a lot. I don't think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I've had a lot of medical trauma. So I have a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder, and I relate too well to the innie outie reintegration whole thing. For the past 9 years, it's been a daily battle for me to try and find that middle, and be okay if maybe that doesn't fully happen. And so the show to me has been like, I mean, comparatively, like the Truman Show is one of my favorite movies for that same reason. It's very, yeah, it's very like, uh, what are we gonna do if we can't forget what's happened, kind of thing. And so I'm a huge fan of the show. I was living in LA for 10 years, and the first thing I did when I moved back to New Jersey is contact someone I went to high school with and was like, do you want a reunion, and do you want to do it at Lumen? So we drove out there, and God bless her, she took a million pictures of me in front of the water tower and everything. And I want to bring up a scene from season 2, episode 3, I believe it was, where you are in the scene with, I can only call him Milkshake now.
I know.
With
Everyone calls him Milkshake.
Evil Milkshake is like my favorite thing, but with Tremel Tillman, and he's just been gifted those images of Kieran. You both have this moment, which, like, I was watching it and it was like DNA altering. I was like in such awe, where no one speaks, and you just have this exchange where in my mind he's like, are we really doing this? And you have this moment where for a second that you falter for a second, and I like watched the scene, and I was like, it's so rare, I feel like, these days, when we're reminded why we love art in the first place. I think that's why there's so many reboots. It's like, remember when we were, and so that was a moment where I was like, this is why I love film and TV and acting and art. And so my question is, when you're in a scene like that, do you know that you're in the middle of something that is like gonna be super impactful and like brilliant, or is it just you're in the scene and you do it, and then afterwards maybe you reflect or you see it on TV and you understand it then? Or is the thing where you're in the moment and you're like, this, we're about to have a like an iconic scene?
I love that question. First of all, thank you for sharing that and expressing yourself. Like, it really touches my heart to be a part of something that is meaningful to people, because I think as an actor, like, I'm excited to do any work, but to do something that people respond to, that touches their heart, like, it's literally a dream come true, so much so that it's almost hard to process. It makes me emotional. I would say that I loved the scene, and I felt like the scene was special. And I also was a little nervous going into the scene because Tremel and I had spoken about wanting to do it in a way that wouldn't isolate the audience necessarily, and that would be touched on with consciousness and sensitivity. But we're also playing these characters, and where Natalie is, she's very empathetic. I think that's why she's so good at manipulating people, because she can feel what people are feeling immediately. But is she sympathetic is a different question.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting as an actor to be conscious of that, but then have to put this layer on as the character who is going to respond differently to the material. And so in the moment, there was so much silence, and something that I really loved is that we were given a lot of free reign to kind of explore that scene and bring to it what we thought it needed to have, as well as amazing directing by Ben as well. So it felt very collaborative, which was so nice. When we did the scene, we had tried it a bunch of different ways. But something that I was trying to tap into is just this fear of what's underneath coming to the surface, because Natalie has a veneer and things stay under the surface in a way. And so when Tramel was looking at me, and he's such an incredible actor, and
I
he's
know.
so present, and he was really like boring into my soul. It felt like it was all bubbling up, which is not something that Natalie is comfortable with, and not
Yeah.
something that she can allow to happen. She has to keep her structure. And there are certain things that she cannot be conscious of, and that she's not conscious of, that I'm aware of. And so we tried it a bunch of different ways. And I do remember when we did that one take that I believe is the one that ended up being actually in the episode, I remember like something weird happening to my face and my mouth. And I didn't know what was happening because I think I was in the moment with him. But after the scene, Ben was like, okay, we're done. Like, we got it. And I just knew somehow that that was the take they were going to use. That's the only way I could describe it, as I was like, that felt like the one. Like, a lot of times you don't know what's going to end up on scene. So I did feel that something kind of wonderful was happening between Tramel and I. But I was hoping that the audience would respond to that scene, but I didn't expect the reaction that we got. And it's been kind of mind blowing, really, for people to have connected to it so much. It's been an absolute honor and a dream. And I'm so thrilled. I'm so thrilled by the reaction.
I like sent it to my mom. She doesn't watch Severance. I was like, look at this. And she was like, oh my God, what is, like, I don't even know what's happening, but I love, and I just was like, everybody look. I just thought it was like, when you can act like that and not be speaking, I'm like, that's it. There's nothing else. Just absolutely incredible.
Thank you
all
so
around.
much.
When you're kind of accessing parts of yourself, when you're acting in scenes like that, and you can almost kind of feel those involuntary things happening in your body, do you think your work on stage has helped that along? Or do you think that's something that you can develop solely in screen?
I would say absolutely. I think that like going to conservatory, having all that training, they always say it, and it used to annoy me. They'd be like, it's a toolbox, and you add to your toolbox. And I was like, oh, I hate this phrase. But it's true. There are like tools that I maybe shelve for years, don't think about, or lessons that pop into my head that something a teacher had said to me that didn't really make sense to me at the time, but stuck somewhere in the back of my head that suddenly makes sense to me. So I think that training certainly helped. But another thing that's really big for me is that I've been in therapy for a long time. Like, I'm going to group therapy tonight. And I think that understanding my own psychology, understanding my brain, going to therapy for all of these years, and being in group as well, watching other people process, understanding how other people work, listening to psychology audiobooks, and just trying to understand the human condition to the best of my ability, which is impossible to understand, has been one of the most helpful tools for me. Because I think it's so easy to play caricatures or to judge characters. And, as much as I try not to judge, I'm a person, sometimes it happens, but to really try to strip that away and understand, like, how could someone turn out like this? Why would someone make these choices? How do they relate to people? How did they grow up? And how did that change the way that they view the world? And what is threatening to them? And what do they care about? Because I think it's easy to think like Natalie doesn't care about anything, but she does care about things. Does she care about people in the way that we might want to feel cared for? No. But she has other things she cares about, which makes her, to me, a real person. And although I might have different values than her and different morals, I can understand how a person like that could come to be. And so trying to do my best to honor her, because everybody deserves to have their story told, right? Like, there's millions of people in the world with all these different personalities. And I just think that's so fascinating.
Definitely. It's a study of the human condition, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you ever had any like other jobs outside of industry that have kind of helped push into that? Because I've always thought that my time barmaiding has really informed my work with actors.
Oh,
it really has.
Wait, did you say for
years?
Did you say
barmaiding?
Barmaiding?
Yeah, behind a bar.
Was it 1920 or no?
We're just like that over here. We're just like that. A barmaid. I was a barmaid.
Well,
sorry, go on, Sydney.
definitely, definitely helped me understand people. First of all, I had to just get comfortable talking to people because you're stuck. You can't
That's
move that
it. You
far.
can't move.
And a lot of times at one of the bars I worked at, that was just a crazy toxic environment. I would say that to their faces. They know. We all know. Um, it
Mhm.
it was just me, and sometimes a bar back for a couple hours, but it was mostly just me and a bar. And I had regulars, and they would come in
Mhm.
sometimes for 8 hours, and just
Oh
tell me
my
about their
god.
lives and get pretty drunk, and the stories are just flowing. And so I tried to just be curious about people and listen to them and think about, like, what does this person need, like why are they trying to connect with me
Mhm.
right now. So I think bartending helped me a lot. I've seen a lot of characters, I've had a lot of interesting conversations. um, the corporation that I worked at was really interesting, and that being in an environment that's almost like a corporate cult was pretty enlightening. I think that, like, that's one thing that's really great about being a New Yorker, I think, is that we see so many different people. Whereas, like, LA, I know a lot of people are working in the industry, but in New York, you're coming across all different kinds of people at all times. And so
Mhm.
you get to see a lot of different life experiences. And I think that to be an actor who has other interests and has friends who do other things can really help you have a fuller view of the world and be able to do justice to different characters. So I think all of my
Yeah.
life experiences really have helped me for sure.
I'm going to take you on to the very exciting realm of social media, because obviously it's a bit of a, you kind of have to do it, don't you, in this industry to build your profile, and you do it really well because it feels authentic. It's engaging, your like Instagram page, um, and it kind of gives people a glimpse into your life without giving too much. I was just wondering about how you approach that kind of thing and what you feel about it. 'Cause some people hate it, don't they? And
Oh, thank you for saying that. I have been challenging myself to, like, I'm such a silly and goofy person. And I think for the longest time it was just like selfie, selfie. And don't,
Yeah.
I like my selfies. But I've been trying to challenge myself to show my personality a little bit more.
oh, it's
Um,
really well curated, your stuff.
Thank you. I think it's vulnerable.
Mhm.
I have a very complicated relationship with social media. That's why I have lurker account on Reddit. I have a lurker account on Twitter that I don't use. Like, I'm peeping things, but I'm not really. I'm only really posting on Instagram. That's
Mhm.
enough for me. I think it's overwhelming enough. But I do think that people who love shows, they want to see a little bit of what's going on in your life,
Mhm.
or maybe how you prep. And I love the fan engagement. It makes me so happy to see the support and excitement that everyone has about the show. And so while I don't think it's a requirement, and I respect that a lot of actors do not have social media, there are tons of actors that I search. I'm like, wow, I want to know more about them, and they are not online. And I'm like, that's awesome. And I might do that one day, actually.
Mhm.
But I think there's also an option to share if you feel comfortable doing so. And
Mhm.
while I don't think it's a requirement, it can be nice to engage with people. I love reading the Reddit page, the Severance Reddit page. It's so fun for me. I'll just be on the subway, just like looking and seeing what people like. And I think it's such an amazing tool. But yeah, I do have a complicated relationship with it because I think it can feel kind of exposing in a way. And it's
Mhm.
also so easy to just start to think that what's online is real, but it's curated, So for now, I'm on social media and I am enjoying sharing it. And but it is a strange feeling to, like, put something out there, and there's this permanence about social media. And I think when what was it, MySpace was a thing,
Oh,
and,
I
like,
loved
oh my god,
MySpace.
top
I
8.
loved it.
When MySpace was a thing, it just had a very different feel to it. And now it seems um like everything is so seen, it's
Yeah.
not really private anymore. So there's something interesting about that. But I do also think it's good practice because, like, as an actor, you don't have necessarily a very private life. It's a choice.
Mhm.
And so I think it's an interesting balance that people have to strike and decide for themselves what feels healthy, what feels good, what feels safe. And I'm still navigating it, but I'm enjoying being on social media for now.
Obviously, we've heard like some great stuff about your career. But have you had any instances where it's often early career where you're just like, oh, something's happened and you're like, I don't know if this is worth it, and I don't know if I can carry on. Like, I don't know if I'm that bothered anymore because I've been beaten down so much. Like, have you had an instance where you've kind of gone, oh, is it worth it?
I am very lucky that I am the type of actor that never had a backup plan, which means I must be slightly delusional. Great. I think it works out for me. I never had a backup plan. I never thought about doing anything else. I never wanted to do anything else. So for me, I've always had this feeling of like, it's got to work. It's got to work because it's the only thing I'm willing to do. I will say that there was a time when I thought maybe it won't happen for me, but it wasn't about my commitment. It was just more about like, wow, this is a hard industry. It's harder than I thought. It takes longer than I thought. You know, when you go to school, they tell you like, wow, you went to this amazing school and you're so great. And that means you're going to work. It does not mean that. There are plenty of incredibly talented people whose work is never going to be seen because it just happens. And so I did have a moment where I was terrified, where I was like, what if I never, ever, ever work? So I had that moment. I did have a moment where I was like, I'm tired. Like, I'm exhausted. I've been trying to do this forever. Like, I'm so tired. So I've had those feelings, but I haven't ever doubted whether or not I was going to continue. But I have had moments of just utter fear and worry and exhaustion, for sure.
And how did you like re-up and keep going when you felt that way?
Taking dance class. I'm not like a big dance class, but there's this wonderful woman named Angela Trimburn. She teaches classes in New York and LA. And then singing with my friends, Kyle and Brittany and Derek. And so making art just for fun again, because when you're little and you play and you're imaginative, it's so much fun. And then it becomes a job and it becomes a business. And then you're auditioning and there's stress about bills and living in New York City and keeping up with rent. And so reconnecting to doing it for no one and for no purpose has been helpful for me. And then also just kind of moving forward, taking it one day at a time. Like, I can be someone who can really worry about the future and I get anxious. And so just thinking like, let me just do today and I'll worry about tomorrow. And I don't have control over everything, but what I do have control over is maybe singing a song or listening to an autobiography of another person and just hearing another human talk about their lives. So getting out of my head by like getting into my body or my art, I would say.
I forget to do all of those things.
It's hard.
And it's important, isn't it?
It is. It really
is.
Yeah.
Looking after your own well-being so you can be out there doing your best work. That's it. I always say to my students, like, if you can do anything else, do it. Like, you've got to have it inside your soul. I use that toolbox thing all the time, Sinead, as well.
Hey,
I teach at a conservatoire. Yeah, I teach at a conservatoire, and all the time I'm there with the toolbox phrase, and like I'm gonna slap myself next time. Next time I use that. It's so true, though, isn't it?
It stuck with me.
It's so true.
Keeping that in mind, how would you define what making it or success means? And this could be professionally or in life in general.
Consistently working, I would say. Just having the privilege of being able to continuously work through decades would be success to me.
I love that you've put the privilege into it, though, because we don't often get that, and it is a privilege, isn't it? So many people want to do this.
Yeah,
it
would be an honor.
It's a huge privilege. With that, are you doing this chapter title one, Emily?
Haley,
it's got you on it.
Oh, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, with that
Forget
in mind,
the notes.
Okay.
You go ahead.
Okay.
At the same time.
You try to do it in an American accent, and I'll try to do it in a British accent. We'll say it
wild. It's gone crazy here.
Haley, I tried to do your accent Home Alone the other day, and it ended up sounding like you trying to do an American accent. It was a disaster. So,
I mean, I want to hear that.
You can take it away.
Anyway, yes. So with all your definition of making it in mind, if we were to turn this podcast into a book, and every episode had a chapter title that sums up your career journey so far, What would yours be, Sydney? What would your title be? What would we put above your name? Take a moment. This question is an absolute nightmare.
To say. I only have cliches. It's a
that's
marathon,
fine.
not a race.
Cliches are fine.
It's a marathon, not a race. Or to quote Finding Nemo, just keep swimming.
Just keep swimming.
Or just one step at a time. I think that like sayings like that can be so campy, you know, but it's true. But when they're true, they're true. Just keep going. Yeah.
It's a cliche for a reason.
Right?
Yeah. Did you make it to the point in John's episode where he gives his chapter title?
Yeah, it was amazing. He even said hashtag.
That's why I was like, please don't even worry about it being like, like it can be ... / hashtag quotation mark.
Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
Some of them are ridiculous. We had one about pumpkin soup once.
Pumpkin
soup. Even know what.
Oh, I love it.
What the deal one was with that.
I should have said that.
Yeah. Yeah. Surprisingly though, and refreshingly enough, most of everyone is panicked and like just hoping things continue. I want to hear that people are having human moments of like shit, like okay. So yeah, I like that.
It's the majority of it most of the time for most people.
Yes. Well, great. So should we do it's a marathon, not a sprint, and then just keep swimming and
yeah, I like that. That's perfect.
This is a visual medium, so everyone can see.
Let's keep swimming.
Amazing. We'll say thank you. Can you sign off in a specific way? And if you don't want to, it's okay.
Tell me.
Could you say?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm going to ask?
Yeah.
Okay,
the board has concluded the call. Was that it? Is that what you wanted?
You must get that all the time.
Can you say that, or like Emily and Haley have concluded the call? But that's perfect.
Yes. Emily and Haley have concluded the call. Okay, let me try without laughing. Emily and Haley have concluded the call. Took me 3 takes.
It's okay.
That was awesome.
We won't tell anybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been. I was so excited. So excited to talk to you. This has been really lovely. Thank you so
nice.
much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Great.
You're incredible.
So much fun.